smoke less, but better and longer, make a cult of it, even a philosophy. The old-time image of a gentleman, a bon viveur, a well-dressed tiré à quatre épingles, elegantly dandling a white-labeled, slender cigar between his fingers, will always pursue us every time we try to put fire to the foot of an especiale. This image of Susele Meyer, standing tall among his siblings, marking his generation and the world with his refinement, grace, and class, was, is, and shall remain the poster boy for luxury and synonym for libertine.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is the legendary Zino Davidoff, who was born in 1906 and who passed away in 1994, crowned as the king of cigars.
Zino Davidoff, the man and the myth, are as important to cigar as Mozart is to music. Zino Davidoff, he who once said, "My love belongs to tobacco and my friendship belongs to the connoisseurs of cigar." A true aficionado cannot achieve a full gratitude of the leaf, any form of the leaf, without recurring to the legacy and achievements of Zino Davidoff.
Zino's story begins 300 kilometers south of Kiev. Born on March 11 to Hillel and Rachel Davidoff, like most of the Jews who lived in Russia during the reign of Tsar Nicholas II, they were no strangers to anti-Semitism. Some of the worst violence happened between October 1905 and January 1906.
The first encounter of Zino with tobacco was during those hard times. He was 5 years old when mobs attacked his village and his father has to shelter his family behind stacks of tobacco in the backyard shed.
Tabak, shouted one of the aggressors. Drop it and let's move on, shouted another.
Thanks to tobacco, the Davidoff family lives have been spared.
By 1911, the violence escalated. It's time for us to leave, Hillel decided. All what the child Zino remembers is the train whistle, an ear-splitting flash of steam burst, and the train began to move out with destination Geneva.
In Geneva, Hillel and Rachel continued doing what they did best, blend tobacco and make cigarettes. In 1912, Hillel finally opened his own tobacco shop, which faced La Place des Philosophes.
The whole Davidoff family worked in the shop. Zino had to learn how to identify the different tobaccos, strip the stem, short the tobacco, and eventually how to blend. Zino would sit tranquilly but attentively in his father's shop and observe the flow of customers and how well his father treated them.
The shop was also visited by exiled Russians. One of these Russians' customers had a bony face, boiling eyes, and he spoke in a loud voice. "Papa, who is that man with the scary eyes and loud voice?" Zino asked.
That, my son, is Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, who the name will be later be Lenin.
Later that year, the Lenin headed to St. Petersburg and changed the world history.
Zino Davidoff dropped out school. His luck struck again. It was one of the smartest decisions he ever made. By 1925, Zino made an important decision. "I want to travel. The school of life will be my university," he once claimed.
As he was about to embark on his journey, his mother, Rachel, entered the room and handed Zino a black suit. "This is for you. In case you meet someone important, you will need to look smart."
That same night, Zino's luck hit again. A steward approached him on the deck of the ship. "Pardon me, sir, do you happen to have a dinner jacket?"
"Yes," replied Zino, recalling the suit of his mother.
"If you don't mind, sir, please put it on and follow me." Perhaps it was Davidoff's kind face, his inherent charisma, or pure random, but no one knows why this particular steward chose the young Zino.
It was in Brazil that Zino developed a passion for the leaf. After several months of working on the plantations, one day an old Brazilian planter approached Zino. "I see that you love tobacco, my son."
Very much so. Said Zino, "The soil, the harvest, the aromas, I have never seen or tasted anything like this." The old man laughed. "What's so funny?" Zino Davidoff asked.
"If you think the tobacco is good here, then you must go to Cuba, to the red soil.
The red soil?
The soil in Pinar del Rio is the best in the world for growing tobacco."
Few days later, Zino was heading to the Vuelta Abajo region in Pinar del Rio, land of the red soil. Zino spent 2 years in Cuba, learning every aspect of tobacco cultivation and cigar making. The brand that most appealed to Zino was Hoyo de Monterrey, the brand founded by Jose Guinea in 1860. By this time, Zino Davidoff left Cuba in 1930. He had acquired such a profound passion and respect for handmade Cuban cigars.
"We need to start building our Cuban cigar inventory," Zino addressed his father.
Now that the Davidoff store was importing Cuban cigars, Zino took on how to preserve the cigars factory fresh. Zino knew that handmade cigar required a certain acceptable range of temperature and humidity to stay fresh during Geneva's dry winters. This task would take a considerable amount of ingenuity. It's widely believed that Zino invented the first desktop cigar humidor.
September 1939, World War II is raging. Shortly before the Germans marched into France, Zino received a phone call from Paris that would prove Zino to be one of the most foresighted of his time.
Bonjour, this is Zino Davidoff. On the other end was a manager from Sietta, the French tobacco monopoly.
"Bonjour, Monsieur Davidoff. I'm calling on behalf of our Cuban partners who asked me to contact you. We need your help. We need to rush out stock of 2 million of Cuban cigars out of France and away from the Nazis."
Zino didn't hesitate, yet Zino's only concern was the price. After minutes of negotiation, the agreed price was on 1 million francs. Zino didn't have much of it, if not all of it, so he headed to the city bank. 1 million francs, Zino? The answer is no, said the bank president.
"But what if I offer you my guarantees?" Zino retaliated.
What do you have for collateral, Mr. Davidoff?
Zino paused and said, "My honest face and my word."
After the war, a small Cuban delegation visited the Rue du Marché Davidoff store, seeking Zino's advice on how to market their cigar. During a lunch meeting at one of the Geneva's finest restaurants, the Globe, Zino opened up to the Cuban about producing his own brands of cigar.
Once the blend has been agreed upon, the names came to Zino in a flash as he was contemplating the wine list before ordering. "Chateau Aubryon, Chateau Lafitte, Chateau Latour, Chateau Margaux, and Chateau Yquem," said Zino. "We will call it the Chateau Cyrus, les Grands Crus de la Havane."
Zino Davidoff had his marks on the cigar business. He treated his clientele with utmost esteem, thereby inventing the model for cigar lounges that we hardly find today. He invented and marketed both the cigar humidor and the double blade cigar cutter. Additionally, his influence even changed the way cigars were packaged, and he was the first to establish a connection between pairing cigars with wine.
Bravo Qasim, again your way of listing long achievements is impressive. Let me briefly flash back into the most important period in Davidoff's journey, the dearest to my heart. In the year 1967, Cuba's state monopoly company, Cuba Tobacco, contacted Davidoff to manufacture personal branded cigar for their store. Consequently, a factory was established in Havana and the great cigars were manufactured. Some are now regarded as most sought and are found only in auctions. In late 1980s, a disagreement occurred over the cigar quality between the Cuban authorities and Zino. That led to ceasing production and dissolved the partnership. In August 1989, Zino had publicly burned over 100,000 of his cigars that he had deemed of low quality and unfit to sell. The Cuban Davidoff line was officially discontinued in 1991, sadly, regrettably, and unfortunately.
Eli, the rest is public knowledge. Davidoff continues to reign with many cigar lineas or series as he liked to call them. Core, 702 series, 1000 series, Anniversario, Grand Cru, Millennium, Signature, Winston Churchill, the late hour. The second linea, Discovery, Escurio, Nicaragua box pressed, Yamasa. Third linea was exclusive, limited editions, master selection, Oro Blanco, royal release, and store exclusive.
Again, a concise yet a comprehensive listing, Qasim. Thank you. Let me conclude here. The cigar world is indebted to Zino Davidoff in many ways, and as aficionados, epicures, and cigar amateurs, we are all obliged to bow for his contributions. Accordingly, Los Osos will conduct a 3 cigar short series to pay homage for Zino Davidoff. The man and the legend has not been given the tribute he truly deserves, or tend to believe so. I personally once publicly commented, "Do not try hard to look smart, just smoke a Davidoff."
Well said, Eli. My friend, be assured Zino will always remain the emblem for elevating the cigar smoking from a mere tobacco addiction to a passion, a refinement, and a ritual.
Voilà, c'est très simple une vie, finalement. Il faut un peu de travail, un peu de psychologie, et puis beaucoup d'optimisme.
Never the end, Zino Davidoff.